many people have spotted a second Earth in the sky.
It's no surprise to any of you that analog horror comes in many shapes and sizes. And analog horror also works at its very best when paired with another horror subgenre. True, every horror medium is a mix of multiple subgenres, but there are times where it becomes more of a 50-50 split, and I believe that this fairly new analog horror series I've managed to stumble upon does just that, blending analog horror with probably one of my favorite horror subgenres, cosmic horror. The Tale of Two Earths at first glance seems to revolve around a very simple concept. People woke up one day, looked up, and saw a second Earth in the sky. We don't know how or why, but it's there. The concept alone has me intrigued, and as of this moment I have only seen tape 1 of 6, and I can already say I am in for quite a blast. I truly don't even know what I would do in this situation. If you watched the video I did a bit ago on phobias, you would remember the bit where we talked about astrophobia, the fear of space. I honestly feel like astrophobia and megalophobia go hand in hand. Those videos where people edit in giant planets into the sky are cool, but they also give me the creeps. Like, I already know I'm a small speck on a small speck, but you don't have to rub it in. But as always, if you haven't already, be sure to check out the original series, as it honestly doesn't seem like a lot of people are talking about it, yet it has quite the amount of attention. I just so happened to stumble upon it during my analog horror search. But on that note, let's put on our spacesuits and see what kind of horrors the universe has awaiting us. But before I let you get too far, just wanted to let you all know that this Wednesday you'll be getting another video from the newly titled Man, Myth, and Legend, Mr. Ratio. Our hopes are that we can start getting you guys more double video weeks, and who knows where we end up going from there. However, if you enjoy your watching, be sure to hit all those neat buttons down below, and if you want to see more, be sure to follow us on our socials linked in the description. But anyways, now you can pass through. Discovery. Tale of Two Earths. Tape 1.
Our Earth is a one-of-a-kind planet of unparalleled beauty. However, many people have spotted a second Earth in the sky.
A second Earth in the sky, they say. Now that's definitely peculiar. We are told that this is not our mind playing tricks on us. There really is a second Earth in the sky, observed by astronomers. What's fascinating is that the continents are reversed. This isn't some other habitable planet that looks like Earth. It's an Earth clone. Interestingly enough, we have found that there are even people living on this planet, and they don't appear to have noticed us. Perhaps there's this weird space mirror keeping them from seeing us. We are then told that we can't really do anything about it, so there's no point in panicking. I'm probably still gonna panic though. It's said that we, whoever we is, are trying to establish contact with this planet. Probably shouldn't, but go for it. In a shocking turn of events, however, this tape ends us off on a very frightening note. Well, there goes the fact that they don't see us. That was a very unnerving final message, to say the least. The idea that, yeah, they do know we are here, and we should back the hell off unless we want trouble. That's at least how I would interpret the message. Is frightening. They clearly don't want us paying them any mind, and it definitely seems like we don't want them paying any mind to us. Establishing contact. Tape 2. As to be expected, this tape immediately starts off with us attempting to make contact with this parallel Earth. We try to greet them and tell them that we come in peace, but the other Earth doesn't give us an answer. We reiterate the fact that we mean them no harm, and yet again there is no response. We mean them no harm? Come on guys, who do we think we're kidding? We tell them once more that we only seek peaceful contact. Clearly we haven't gotten the hint. But oddly enough, this time the alternate planet actually responded. Just a simple SOS. That can't be good. Is this planet in danger? We end up seeing what appears to be seismic testing data that we were able to get from Earth 2. How? Who knows? And I'm no seismologist or anything, so I'm gonna guess that things were looking normal until the last second, when things went haywire. But we then very quickly are met with an entity that definitely doesn't seem friendly from our alternate Earth. Some of that was a bit too fast, so let's go back a bit. Your incessant prodding won't go unnoticed. You are annoying. Ignore us. leave us be. So there's a couple things I think that could be going on here. Either this planet truly doesn't want to make contact with us, either due to fear or hatred. Or, and this is what I'm leaning towards, this alternate Earth is being held hostage. I believe that the SOS message was from the people, and there's this strange entity that has taken control of the planet in some way. Maybe that's how the planet got there in the first place. Needless to say, I think the reason this thing is telling us to screw off is probably because it doesn't want us to know the truth, and it stupidly believes that we are going to listen to it when it says to ignore it. Rhea, Tape 3. We open up on this incredibly hard to read message, which ironically is warning those with photosensitive epilepsy. So, if you have that, I recommend steering clear. Once that's over, we are shown a satellite image of Earth 2, and it's learned that we believe the planet may be dying. We are then reminded of the time period we are in when it's thought that an alliance with Earth 2 could perhaps give them an upper hand against the Soviets. You don't think Earth 2 has their own Soviets and United States? You really think alternate Earth cracked the code for world peace? It's clear that this has become its own little space race. See who can get into contact with the parallel Earth first. The SOS message is the biggest and most obvious clue that this planet needs help. What for, however, is the question being raised. But then our footage ends up getting interrupted by our familiar entity. I told you they wouldn't listen. The entity then says it will give us 3 more chances, like an evil genie. He then calls out to the people of Gaia, aka Earth, and says if we squander our chances, it will not be so forgiving.
I swear to fucking God, I will stop being so polite.
We are told once again to stop trying to contact them before another interruption occurs. Except this time, it's a special message. Apparently the satellite that was capturing those photos we saw earlier was knocked out of orbit. I wonder if those images we see of the entity are from the satellite. If that's the case, then we should really probably leave them alone. It said this action was done by Earth 2 residents, but text quickly appears on screen that says Rhea. The narrator then goes on to say that once again they will try to establish contact to get the situation sorted out. And right when he says that, we get more text that just reads, "You do not know how to listen," before our tape ends. I gotta say, this series has been doing a great job at leaving me wanting more. I truly have no idea what could be the answer behind this alternate Earth, or what this entity could possibly be. Honestly, that just goes to show that the cosmic horror is working effectively. Something bizarre is happening in space, and I just can't possibly conjure up an answer as to what could be happening. Status report. Tape 4. We open up and are dated on June 13th, 1983, at some kind of national laboratory. We end up listening in on a conversation between General Emery, Dr. Rickson, and Dr. Dyer. I think that's how that's said. According to Dr. Rickson, Earth 2 being in our orbit is causing some issues to our very own planet. Which, come to think of it, yeah, that would be quite devastating. He states that the orbit of this second Earth is causing our planet to experience rising tides and heightened seismic activity. The only solution that is proposed comes from Dr. Dyer, who admits it's a very drastic one that he wouldn't even want to see carried out. Just remove the planet from our orbit. The only issue is that we know that there is a human population on this alternate planet. It could very well be 1-to-1 with ours. The general asks if there is any way to remove the planet from our orbit without killing everyone on it. And unfortunately, according to Dr. Rickson, there just isn't one. The conversation ends up shifting a bit when Dr. Dyer says they have recovered the fallen satellite, the one that got smacked out of space. He claims that when they got a hold of the satellite, they found organic matter inside, with a molecular structure never before seen. According to Dr. Rickson, the cells are coated in a film that appears to be able to absorb radiation. Maybe you want to stay away from that. Before Dr. Dyer can fully complete his theory that the substance came from Earth 2, the communication channel gets hijacked. And you wouldn't believe it, but it's someone from Earth 2. The general quickly asks who this lady is, and how in the world she was able to hijack this transmission. It's learned that her name is Ellie Lynch, but our footage begins to heavily distort when she says they need evacuation. We even see text on screen replace evacuation with brainwash. It sounds like she is barely able to get out the phrase, "the I," before a certain familiar entity decides to take over once again, and this time with a new voice. Apparently, he was able to see the transmission, and again says we want to be left alone, even though it's clear now more than ever that this planet is being held hostage by this thing. The last thing we end up seeing on this tape is another seismic test, and it now looks like our creature exists in the center of this planet, and has his little roots all spread out from within. I'm glad that we have finally gotten confirmation that this planet isn't just hostile on its own, but it's being held hostage by this mysterious entity that appears to reside in the center. And these people need our help, and we only have 2 tapes left to see if we get any closer to victory. The Union. Tape 5. The first thing we are met with this tape is some kind of Russian programming, where we end up hearing from a narrator that a message is about to be delivered from the Supreme Soviet Community. They say that through rigorous scientific observations, they have confirmed the presence of a celestial body near the Union, aka Earth 2. This is probably the one thing America didn't want to happen the most. According to our Russian narrator, the Americans plan to exploit the planet with the end goal of conquering it for selfish gains. Now that is just an absurd thing to assume. We learn that as of this moment, the Soviet Union plans to uncover the truth and protect the world from America's parallel Earth corruption. Interestingly enough, we also learn that the Russians were able to intercept a transmission from the Americans, likely the one we listened in on during the last tape. It did seem pretty easy to hijack. However, this means that Russia now sees this as America poking and prodding something that is going to respond with hostility. And, I mean, that is essentially what happened. But there is nothing to fear, because while what America did was silly, what Russia plans to do should be much better. They plan to send their own signals to the second world to just try and learn about it and get some studies done.
Looks very, similar.
Oh, and also to see if they only hate the US and not the whole world, which is likely the case. And also the exact same thought process America had when attempting to contact this planet. Funny how that works, isn't it? The narrator ends up getting interrupted briefly by what appears to be the creature's eye, perhaps. Maybe his name is just the Eye. The message then carries on, essentially saying Russia will do better, but before the narrator can get much farther, we end up cutting out to some Russian text. Looks like we're back to translating. Once we send satellites to the second world, we may well be able to intimidate any capitalist into not trying to contact them. The second world is silent. They have not responded to our messages. We will send a spaceship to the planet in redacted days. All our satellites have been disabled. Something is trying to send us a message. We have uncovered the terrible truth about the second planet. We must cancel our plans to send a spaceship. You think? We found a biological substance. It appears to be a gel-like muscle tissue containing hyperthermophilic. No.
Hyperthermophilic.
Jesus, that was a fucking analog horror on its own. It appears to be a gel-like muscle tissue containing hyperthermophilic enzymes, and it was trying to eat the skin of one of our satellites. Those hyperthermophilic enzymes are probably what kept it from eviscerating on its decent... I'm on a roll today. Those hyperthermophilic enzymes are probably what kept it from eviscerating on its descent from space. And again, it sounds like they just did the exact same thing the US did. Humanity, am I right? Our tape ends up once again getting interrupted by our evil entity, almost in awe at the fact that the 2 conflicting sides of Earth 1 both are bad at following basic instructions. This entity is supposedly aware that the transmission was intercepted, so that means Russia knew that the entity did not want to be contacted by anyone. This means that Russia has now used up our second chance, and one more screw-up, and we'll get involved. Uh-oh. The final thing we see in this tape is a brief flash of more Russian text that translates to, "It replaced the core." Well, that would explain why our entity was found in the center. It appears to be some kind of creature with the ability to spread itself and infect material, like it was able to do with the satellites and apparently is able to do on a much larger scale, entire planets. I'm really not looking forward to what happens when, obviously, we use up our third chance. Faux Truth. Tape 6. We have now arrived at our latest entry in the Tale of Two Earths, and I, for one, can't wait to see where we could go from here. We begin listening in on another conversation, except this time it's more of an interview with our familiar Dr. Dyer and General Emery, with Ellie Lynch and an unnamed man from Earth 2. These interviews have to be in short segments, in order to keep the creature from finding out what's going on like it has frequently done in the past. We end up learning that our unnamed man is actually named Michael Heron, and we also learn that the creature is referred to as the Eye. Now would you look at that? General Emery offers military intervention, but that would just lead to a devastating retaliation. Unfortunately, that's all they were able to say before having to cut the interview. But we quickly listen in on interview 2. The first thing Dr. Dyer asks is if we know this thing's goals, and according to Michael, the eye sees itself as a savior. According to it, brainwashing the population will put an end to all wars and conflicts, leading to peace. And of course, the eye then gets to feed off the nutrients from the planet and suck it dry. Essentially, the two have formed a symbiotic relationship. The general then asks if the eye has given itself its own name, to which we learn from Ellie it calls itself Rhea, based on the Greek goddess, the mother of all the Olympian gods. The eye even wants to name the planet after itself. Interview 2 ends there, and we end up heading into interview 3, where General Emery asks if they know if the eye has any weaknesses. Michael isn't able to think of anything, but Ellie actually has something in mind. According to her, the eye lacks a stable structure. It's a bunch of proteins that absorb radiation, which means overloading it could do the trick. This leads to the General and Ellie coming up with an idea to nuke it. However, the General has a very important question. How is it that Ellie and Michael aren't brainwashed? Michael says it's because the eye simply just can't keep track of that many people, so some are bound to slip under the radar. Dr. Dyer then asks if there are any other weaknesses that should be shared, and Ellie reveals that the eye is large enough to create its own gravitational pull, hence the satellite swatting. And evidently it can eat metal.
Evidently they eat lead.
The General then asks the final question, which Ellie is suspiciously quick to answer.
But do you happen to know where this thing came from in the first place?
It was some bioweapon created by an alien civilization.
Ellie, we never came up.
Any other questions?
Turns out I lied, and the General has another question. Why doesn't the eye want to interact with Earth-1? To which Ellie just says it's because the eye knows Earth-1 could essentially demolish it. However, Ellie quickly says that the interview has gone on for too long, and should now end, to which she does so, very abruptly. Whoops. Now it's just the Doctor and the General, and by God does Dr. Dyer have the best idea yet.
That was interesting.
I know. We could try to establish an interview with it.
My goodness, what an idea. Why didn't I think of that?
I may have called him an idiot out loud when I first heard that. Something interesting to note right now that I'm noticing is that Ellie hasn't left yet. Even though it may look like she is, she's not. She's just hard to see, chilling out next to the General. Dr. Dyer then really tries to justify his stupid-ass idea, but it seems they forgot that the interview time counts for them too, and it has now definitely gone on for too long.
To one interview to sort things out.
If I had to guess, this image here is how the eye came to infect the planet. Just this weird worm-like creature managing to slither on inside. But then this tape ends very shockingly, with the eye responding to Dr. Dyer's request in a very short answer. I accept. Excuse me, come again? I truly can't imagine that this is the end of the series. I am going to need more, but I kinda believe we still have more twists in store in the future, and I think I have one figured out. I know literally a couple seconds ago I said that this image of the eye is it crawling inside Earth 2 to take it over, but what if it isn't Earth 2? Maybe Earth 2 isn't what we think it is. I think it's possible that this image is of Earth 1, and the eye kind of went in one side and out the other to gather the components and atoms and all that science stuff to create a duplicate Earth around itself. It didn't replace any cores. It literally was the core from the start. That would explain why this second Earth seemingly appeared out of nowhere, because it literally did. They never did explicitly state that this is a clone/copy of Earth. I've just been kinda calling it a parallel Earth just because. But I think now that is the case. We can't forget that the Earth literally has our continents, but flipped. Even the title may hint at Ellie not being truthful. Fake truth. It could also be tied to the eye and how it's lying to Earth too, but I believe it may actually be about Ellie, and how she's perhaps fabricating the origin of the eye. Even Michael was confused when she brought it up. It isn't like he was upset she revealed something. He is concerned about the fact she lied about even discussing it in the first place. This could mean that Michael is actually someone who managed to slip under the radar. However, if this is a parallel Earth, then that means the people on the planet would also probably just be alternate versions of us. But that also means they would have been created from the essence of the eye. making it much harder to believe that these people would have ever had any free will to begin with, and that it's even possible for them to break out of that spell. What would all this be for, though? I think the Eye just wants another planet to harvest, and it perhaps has fabricated a hostage situation to lure Earth 1 into a trap, to which now 2 planets would be under its control. But once again, that could all be utter nonsense. Outside of the theorizing, however, I really liked the series. It harkens back to the classic days and utilizes its cosmic horror elements wonderfully. They even go so far as to try and explain to you what the entity is, which is a big no in cosmic horror. However, in this instance, there's the added layer that Ellie is likely lying about it. This adds to the questions, like why would she lie? It throws us off even more. I also liked how the Eye justifies its actions. In its warped point of view, if it isn't just being a two-faced liar, is that it believes this is truly the only path to peace, which is a belief that a lot of villains in film and TV tend to have. What's necessary isn't always easy, and only I have the strength to do what's right. Except what's right isn't right. But they think it is, so the drive that pushes them is not necessarily understandable on a relatable level, but on an objective one as you attempt to study the character. You can honestly look at how Russia in the story thought that them doing the exact same thing America did would result in a different outcome, as proving the Eye right in its eyes. At the end of the day, they had the exact same thought process, but with different words used. And that sums up a lot more than people think, I believe. I truly love that this short series, that hopefully isn't over, is able to invoke such deeper conversations when at face value, it's just an analog horror about 2 Earths. If you are among the few who haven't already seen Tale of 2 Earths, I highly recommend you check it out, and keep up with it in the future, if it keeps going. Hopefully it keeps going. But on that note, be sure to keep leaving me recommendations in the comments down below, whether it be in the YouTube comments or the community Discord, where just like the Eye, I think you understand. Who texted me? It was probably you, Caleb. I bet it's you. It was. You just did it again. But if you'll excuse me, I've got to have a chat with this new YouTube channel called +4 I've been hearing about.